working together to design a lithium-ion battery. So let me start by telling you this, that there is no perfect cell. So when we look into a lithium-ion cell, these are the 5 basic aspects that we look into: specific energy, specific power, safety, lifespan, and cost. So you might think that what is really the problem? Very simply, the problem is, if you want to have a high specific energy, generally the specific power goes down. Now, if you have some chemistry where energy and power both are available, in most of the cases, let's consider NCA. This is nickel, cobalt, aluminium cell. Energy and power both are very good, but neither is safety so good, nor is cost so good. So here, this is probably, I am not sure if you know this concept. This is a concept which is called spider chart. So in the spider chart, what we do is we put different attributes of any design or anything else also, and then going outward means it is good, and near to the center means it is bad. So when we say cost is bad, that means cost is high. Whereas for energy, if we say specific energy is good, that means specific energy is high. So closer to center is bad, going outward is good. So these are the 5 or 6. Here actually they have considered 6, but we have considered 5. So that does not make too much difference, because specific energy and specific power, in our understanding, these two actually makes up for performance. So you will see lot of buzz in media about some new cell. Something has come up, something is so great. For example, you would probably see about Toyota's solid state cells. So solid state cells are of course very good. High specific energy, high specific power, high safety, lifespan also is good, but those are very costly cells. So there is no cell that can take care of everything. So what we need to do is look at our application and figure out which are the must-haves and which are the good-to-haves, and based on that decide which cell to take. Now this is in a nutshell giving you EV battery pack design process. So what we do is first we gather these information. This is extremely important. We need to get requirement of capacity, volume, weight, performance, safety, life, everything. So this is basically are the parameters based on which we will start our design. So based on this, our first purpose is to figure out which is the right cell for us. There won't be any perfect cell, but there will be one or more correct cell for our purpose. So once we have decide on a cell, what we need to do is we have to characterize the cell. So there are different ways of characterizing. There are standard tests, and then there are standard models available. So we have SOC model. SOC stands for state of charge. There are SOH models. This means state of health. So state of charge basically means that how much charge is remaining in a cell. And state of health means what is the level of health, means that let's say in the beginning the battery was able to store some 100 ampere current, 100 amp hour current. Now after some usage, how much is it able to store? Is it able to still store 100 or 95 or 90 or what? So that will determine what is its state of health. And then from there, it will go to system level model. But of course, system level model is not cell specific, meaning cell information is required, but then how the cells are actually assembled in a pack, that will determine this model. Now, from this information, it goes into two different types of application. One is this SOX algorithm, which will get into the actual vehicle control, and the other one goes into CFD model. Because as I started out with saying that battery lithium ion cells are very thermally sensitive. So you have to thermally manage it. So we know that from this information, what are the kind of heat generation that happens at what condition. So based on that, at different operant condition, we will simulate. This is CFD. Probably those of you who are in third year, or maybe this is the third year second sem, right? So many of you might know this is computational fluid dynamics simulation. So this particular work is basically a computational fluid dynamics simulation along with heat transfer. So this is a conjugate heat transfer problem. There are solids and there are fluids. So solids are generating heat and fluids are taking the heat away. And what our task here is to understand that if we assemble the cells in a certain way, then what kind of thermal management system here, for example, this is a cooling plate arrangement. So what kind of cooling plate arrangement do we have to keep? What kind of flow should we need? And the flow should be designed in which direction and which way. For example, here this is going in this way. This is an image taken from the internet. So this is not necessarily a very good design. So this is the coming from the CFD side. So CFD side first will give you a lot of information about the thermal thermal characteristics of the pack. Now from there, what you need to do is consider all different conditions. All different conditions means, after all, it's an electric vehicle. So the driver will use it in different condition. Different drivers will be using it in different ways. For example, the same vehicle can be used by a driver in the place where I live in Bangalore, or maybe in New Delhi, or maybe in Silchar. So actually in Silchar, where the temperature is actually doesn't go too high, or rather it doesn't go too high for too long, the battery will be quite happy. But when it goes to New Delhi, then the battery will not be so happy. There will be some times when the temperature is too high, so the battery needs to be thermally managed. And there will be sometimes the temperature might go too low. So at least in Delhi, it goes to about minimum of 0. So it is still manageable with our present cells. But let's say someone goes to a little bit northern part of India, then it would require a heater also. So in short, what you can remember is lithium-ion batteries are very similar to human beings, meaning lithium-ion batteries work best in what we call human comfort temperature. 25 to 35 is ideal, but it will run okay from, let's say, 10 degree to 45 degree. If it starts to go below 10, then in the lower side, you will have to derate. If it starts to go above 45, you will again have to start derate. And in some cases, it is not allowed to charge, or it is not, mostly it is not allowed to charge. So these are the constraints that you have. So based on, so considering that these are the constraints, what we do is we make a digital twin to figure out the thermal algorithms. So what we do is we have got a detailed model. We make a simplified MATLAB Simulink model. First we make at cell level, then we make at module level, then we make at pack level, then we bring in the HVAC components, and then we try to see that what is the best way of managing it thermally. Now, why do we take so much effort? The reason is simple. To manage a battery pack thermally, it needs energy. Now, where will the energy come from? When the vehicle is running and I need to thermally manage the battery, I will have to draw energy from the same battery pack. So I should not overcool a battery pack, because that means then finally the vehicle's range is coming down. Yeah. So that is where you have to thermally manage the battery very optimally. You do not want to overcool, that means the range is coming down, but you do not want to undercool, that means the battery's life is coming down. So from this, it goes in two different directions. One is it goes as the thermal management logic into the battery management system, and on the other side, it goes into the cooling plate designs. So I have gone through the thermal side. On the other side, from the information of the cells, we make the SOX algo. X stands for C, which is charge, P, which is power, and H, which is health. So this is basically the complete battery control algorithm. So it will tell you what is the charge available in the battery, how much power can you draw from the battery, and what is the health of the battery. So this information also gets coded into the battery management system. So this is the algo and thermal side. Now here is your cell. Generally, we do not put, this is a pouch cell. So of course, there are other cells like what we call the cells with a metal body, which are prismatic cells. And there are cylindrical cells also. So cylindrical cells are used by Tesla, probably you guys know. But no other large OEM uses cylindrical cell for large vehicles. So what we do generally for pouch cells is that we make a module out of it. So pouch cells are all connected and protected by this module. So outside there will be terminals which gets connected for the by bus bars for making the battery pack. So this module design is a very interesting and complex work, because inside this battery you have the cells. Cells must have one particular dedicated surface for this kind of thermal management. Then it has to have all the voltages and temperatures measured. So there must be the sensor lines, and then there will be terminals for providing power. Now, once the battery module design is done, it goes into packaging. So packaging of the full battery pack. So here you have the modules. These orange colors are the bus bars. So generally, bus bars are always covered with a plastic cover, especially when it's a high voltage pack. And here, all other things with orange color, what you see, these are the electrical equipments. Electrical equipments meaning that there will be contactors, there will be shunt and fuse. So those are the, now these contactors are controlled by this device, which is the battery management system. So in this particular image, you are not able to see clearly, but there will be cooling plates at the bottom of this. So for example, cooling plates will look like this. So these cooling plates will be placed under these modules. So through these cooling plates, coolant will flow that will take away the heat, whatever is generated inside these modules due to operation or due to charging, fast charging. Now, these battery packs are not just a device to hold the modules. These are also to provide certain amount of protection. So two types of protection it has to provide. One is against vibration, but that's a long-term thing. And the second thing is against crash. So if you see these are the brackets with which the battery pack gets mounted onto the vehicle body. Now these brackets are designed in such a way that there will be box sections created inside this bracket, and this brackets goes through and through from left to right completely. So if there is any kind of crash from one of the side, these brackets will actually take the load. So there are different international standards available. For example, there are European standards, there are US standards, there are Japanese standards. India also has our own standard, AIS. So that AIS standard is quite similar to the European standard. So the point is the battery pack has to protect against crash under a certain given condition. So either it will have to crash at the protect against that crash at the battery pack level or at the vehicle level. But the bottom line is that the battery pack must be protected. Okay, so anyone has any question on any of this? Otherwise, I will just go into a little bit detail about each of these.
Sir, you can proceed.
All right. So this is a little bit detail about lithium-ion cell modeling. So lithium-ion cells are electrochemical devices. So this is called a equivalent circuit model. So in equivalent circuit model, what we do is how our cell will behave under a certain condition or under a certain charge or discharge from a given state of charge condition. We try to mimic it using two pair of RC circuit and one resistance. So one resistance, of course, you can understand that if we try to draw more current, the resistance will be there because inside, of course, there are connections through which these electrons are coming out. So there will be some resistance. These RC circuits are basically for the diffusion process that goes on inside. So diffusion process happens meaning that inside the cell there are anode and cathode particles. So those particles are the ones which hold the lithium ions in Li form, lithium form. So those particles, whenever we are charging or discharging, lithium is either intercalating or deintercalating from these particles. So that's a diffusion process. So because of the diffusion process, we put one of the RC circuit. Now that is not the only diffusion process, because lithium, when it comes out of, let's say, anode, then this one more lithium will go inside the cathode. So that process is happening outside in the electrolyte phase. So there is a second RC circuit. So we generally put it as two pair RC, one for solid phase, one for liquid phase. So this is a simple equivalent circuit model. If you look into more detail, there are more advanced equivalent circuit models where they would have 3-pair RC, they might have 4-pair RC, or RCs connected in different different ways. But this is a simple RC circuit which works for most of the conditions. Now how do we find out these RC parameters? So these are some of the standard tests. This is called HPPC. So HPPC stands for hybrid pulse power characterization. So what we do is we give a pulse, and after that we let it a pulse like this, and then we let it relax. Relax means once we take the load out, voltage jumps up and then it relaxes. But as you can see, at different temperatures, the same cell will behave differently. 25 and 45 are close by. As I told you before, 25 is ideal, 45 not so good. Its performance is good, but its life expectancy will be low. 0 degree, performance is bad. And generally life expectancy is good if you don't force too much at low temperature. If you force at low temperature, life expectancy is also bad. Now this is a simple way of figuring out the R and C parameters. That when a cell is or rather when the load is taken out, the cell voltage jumps up. That gives R0. Then it slowly becomes flat. So this value is R1 C1, and the total voltage recovery is R0 plus R1. So this was the work of our one pair RC circuit, but we do two pair RC. So we do a little more of optimization to figure out R1 and R2. So these are some of the standard equations that we follow. So we perform the test, we put these in MATLAB. MATLAB minimizes the error and gives us the values of R1, R2, C1, C2 and R0. So what we have to do then is we have to perform this HPPC at the full SOC range, when the cell is full to when the cell is empty. And wherever there is a large voltage drop, we have to perform more number of HPPC, because that is where the variation will be more. So we need more data points. And using those values or using these experiments, we figure out the values of R1, R2, etc., etc., as I said before. Now you might think that why do we need all these? Because we are always measuring the current, and also we know a cell has a particular capacity. So we will continue to add it, and we will know that this is the amount of current we have used. So the rest must be left inside the cell. But it is actually not so easy. The reason is that one problem is that measurement of current can have error. And the second thing is that there will be cells which are not exactly of same capacity. In general, when the cells are made from a automated line, although there are controls, process controls, but even then in our experience, we have seen that up to 10% variation is in capacity are possible. Although the better quality cells will give you a capacity within a few percent, maybe 2 or 3%. So then whatever we do by Coulomb counting is just a prediction, but we need a correction. So that correction is the one that comes through our model, through the voltage. So as you can see here, we have two cells, about 10% difference. So what will happen in that case? That if we consider this cell 1, then we will always be following the cell 1. So if we start calculating SOC on the basis of cell 1, then this is the real SOC. But in the battery pack, what will happen? We are following like this, but at the moment when the weaker cell, the red cell, reaches the cutoff voltage, we will have to stop the vehicle because the cells are neither allowed to overcharge nor allowed to over discharge. Overcharging is a safety issue, over discharging is a life expectancy issue. It's actually not just life expectancy. If it is done repeatedly, it can become somewhat of a safety issue also. So then what do we do? What we do is we do a smart averaging. We have a Coulomb counting based SOC, and we have a SOC from the cell voltage. So cell voltage from the cell terminal voltage, using the models that I showed you before, we can calculate the cell open circuit voltage. And from there, we can estimate what should be the actual state of charge. So we do a smart averaging of these two to get the predicted SOC. And that works very well when you have different, there are variations in capacity. Actually, there is another point also which I have not mentioned here because the full detail of electrical circuit I have not provided. Cells sometimes tend to go out of balance. Out of balance means maybe in the beginning all the cells were at same voltage, but slowly some cells discharge slightly more. These are all due to inaccuracies in the circuit somewhere. And then one cell, maybe when it started, everything was at 50% SOC. But after some usage, when one cell is at 50, the other is probably at 45. So that creates different types of errors. Yeah. So these are the ways to take care of it. Now, till now I have talked about equivalent circuit model. It works very well, but it is actually not. At low temperature, equivalent circuit model doesn't work, as you can see. Our model values and prediction, the experimental values, the farm lines are experimental. At -10, it starts to go off. -20, it is more. -30, it is a lot more. So what do we do? So we have to provide different types of corrections. So for that correction, what we require is a electrochemical model. So electrochemical model, you might think that why it is it still a mechanical subject? So the only point I want to make here is that the person who developed the most widely used electrochemical model in lithium-ion battery is John Newman. He is a mechanical engineer. He started his career in computational fluid dynamics, and using the same numerical and mathematical tools that are used in CFD, he developed this particular equivalent circuit model, which we generally call P2D model, pseudo 2D model. So it's a very powerful and ingenious model. And I think for mechanical engineers, it should be natural. Many of the concepts used are also used in thermal and fluid mechanics or rather computational fluid dynamics. So here we put some correction for C rate also. That is the discharge rate. So once we start to put this corrections, things start to look somewhat better. But it would not have to be this kind of ad hoc corrections if we go to the full electrochemical modeling. So there what we do is we consider solid phase, that is the active material phase, electrolyte phase. We consider species conservation, and then the lithium ion diffusion inside the particle. So this radial direction is one of the direction, and this through plane direction is the another direction. So these are connected, but not full 2D is solved. So that's why this is called, this radial direction is one direction, through plane direction is another direction. Combining these two, we call it pseudo 2D model. So in pseudo 2D model, one point here is that you actually need to know all the internal informations of the cell. For example, you need to know what are the particle dimensions, what are the active material loading, what are the different properties of different materials. So that at times is a little difficult to get, but there are facilities to open the cell and measure the internal internal properties. So probably these are a few slides I will skip because this goes into the details of the electrochemical model. So I'll get into battery pack design. So this is a typical battery pack which we have collected from internet. So as you can see, this is a aluminum battery box, and here on the side you have this crash beams, and here are the holes through which the battery box will be mounted to the body in white of the vehicle. This is these are the cooling plates, and these are the channels for coolant. Now these are the battery modules. So between the battery module and the cooling plate, you have something called a thermal interface material. The reason is why? Because this is a metal, this is another metal. Metal to metal contact is not so good. There will be lot of air gap inside. That would mean that thermal flow of heat will not be so good. What we do is we put thermal interface materials which fills the gap and makes sure that the heat transfer path is provided. So thermal interface materials are generally of diffusivity equivalent of water or a little bit more. So it is still like one order of magnitude better than air. Here you have the HV system. HV means high voltage. So high voltage is for what? High voltage is for power. And then you have the LV. LV means low voltage. Low voltage is for what? For all the measurement of the voltages and temperature. And also this is the one that gets connected with the BMS BMU. BMS is what? Battery management system. BMU is what? Generally it is battery measurement unit. Now battery measurement unit does what? It measures the voltage of one or two of the modules and then relays that value to the main battery management system. Now, why is that required? It depends upon how you want to design it. It's an electrical part that comes in here. If you have BMUs, then actually each BMU is on the low voltage side. And then from the BMU, only the signal comes. But if you have all the connections coming to the BMS, then it has to be protected for HV. So that sometimes is costly. So there are ways to do it everything in the BMS or doing it by BMS and BME. Then you have the electrical unit. So these are the big HV connectors. Inside this, you will have the contactors. Contactors will make sure that when the vehicle is keyed on, contactor is connected. Yeah, so that means the power can flow. And when you key off, the contactors are opened. So that means the battery pack is separated from the outside connection. And yeah, here is the top cover. Here, just on the top cover, we generally put a gasket. This gasket is the one which provides IP67. What is IP67? IP67, IP means ingress protection. So ingress of what? Ingress of dust and water. So IP67 means it will have to be protected against dust and water also. And water protection against water means what? It will have to be immersed in water of 1 meter depth from the highest point of the battery pack. Okay, and under that pressure, if the battery pack is kept for 30 minutes, after that also the battery pack should remain operational. So that is the ingress protection 67. So in this particular case where you see that there is a flat surface, here ingress protection is not so difficult, but there will be conditions, especially when existing IC engine vehicle is getting transferred, or rather from IC engine getting converted into a electric vehicle. That time, many cases, such kind of nice smooth surface for ingress protection are not available. And in that case, it can become quite a bit of challenge. Okay, so here are the battery pack architecture of different types of battery pack boxes. This is a conversion. This is a development of electric vehicle right from scratch. So these are the ones which you see like Audi e-tron, Jaguar I-Pace, Tesla 3, Model 3, Chevrolet Bolt, Nissan Leaf, and Hyundai Kona also. So as you can see, these have all very nice regular structure. Actually, all of this has very nice regular structures. But if you look at a conversion vehicle, whatever space can be provided will be provided, and we will have to package the battery inside that. We have to thermally manage it also, and we will have to provide the space for BMS, BMU, and the electrical components also. So for a design, that becomes a lot more complicated, and it becomes very difficult to provide the amount of energy that is required to meet the range. Reason is that although a certain amount of volume is provided, you cannot put all the modules due to its form factor in any given space. So the space given has to meet certain height, length, and width criteria so that you can fit it. So these are certain challenges that come to our way. So I think we have gone in detail of battery pack design in the previous slide. Yeah, this is very important. So battery pack durability test. There are different tests. ISO, I'm sure you know that. EC is the European one. AIS is the Indian one. And then there are UN standards also. So there are many different standards available for different conditions. So depending upon which country or where this will be used, these have to be met. So generally, for India, there is AIS standard, but Mahindra Electric also gets into some of the ISO 12405 standards, and then for transport, even 38.3 standards, IP67 standard, etc., etc. Yeah. Now we come to battery thermal management. So thermal management we have discussed previously. So if the battery is too hot, it's bad for its life. And if the battery is too cold, it doesn't perform too well. So what do we do for that? We can consider air cooling. We can consider liquid cooling. Air cooling generally works well for small packs, but air cooling doesn't work well for large packs. Reason quite simply is that in large pack, the total amount of generated heat is much more, you really cannot pump that much of air. I mean, actually you can, but that results in a lot of noise inside the cabin. Nobody wants that. And the second thing is the volume of air required to take out that much of heat is a lot more. So then the option is that you have to package in that volume also. If you package the volume for those air ducts, that means the volume for battery is taken out. Nobody wants that also. But of course, air cooling has certain benefit. Benefit is that air is inherently safe. If it leaks, doesn't matter. But liquid cooling, although it is very compact and very efficient, we have to be very much mindful about the safety also. Safety meaning inside the battery pack, we have the cooling plates. Now, for some reason, if the cooling plate leaks, then inside the battery pack will get filled with coolant, and that will cause short circuit. That can cause short circuit. So of course, we put protection to make sure that it does not happen through design and also through our battery management software. Now, how do we do this? Okay, so this is just a comparison of air cooling and liquid cooling. So I will skip this one. I'll go to this important part, battery pack digital twin. This is a new concept that has come up in last few years. You might hear about digital twin from GE or from ANSYS or from Siemens, etc., etc. So in Mahindra Electric also we have developed our own digital twin. It's based on MATLAB Simulink. So I think MATLAB Simulink also has their own digital twin. So we have our cell model, which is our basic building block. Then those gets connected thermally as per our battery box design. And then we also have the information about how the vehicle will run. So that tells us what is the load that is coming onto the load, meaning electrical load coming onto the battery pack. So based on that, we will simulate what will be the SOC after a certain trip and what will be the heat generated. To manage that heat, what is the kind of thermal management required, whether our thermal management is good or bad or what. So that is only the battery pack. Now what we can also do is we can model the full HVAC system, the chiller, the pump, and the HVAC, which is coming from the outside, which is the HVAC of the battery. So why that part is a little complicated in electric vehicle is because there is a single HVAC for cabin cooling and also pack cooling. So there are certain amount of optimization required to provide comfort both to the customer and to keep the battery happy also, but not losing out on the range. In electric vehicle, range is extremely important. That is the topmost importance. So I think we just discussed about this. We go like cell, module, pack, and finally to system. I'll skip these slides. This is one particular application of digital twin. So I will go into this one, battery thermal management, India specific. So why India specific? This is a thermal map of India. This is June 10, 2019. So this is a thermal map. So many of these temperatures, 48, 48, 45, 46, none of these 47, 48 here, none of these are good for battery. So therefore we need India specific solution. Why India specific solution also? Because we intend to use low cost electric vehicles. Now low cost electric vehicle means what? Like three-wheeler. Mahindra Electric has three-wheelers. Three-wheelers cannot have a HVAC system of its own. This is an open vehicle. The customer does not have AC. Now I cannot provide an HVAC system only for the battery. So what do? We did CFD simulation. We did the full radiation simulation for that. We considered all these effects of normal irradiations, horizontal irradiance, and altitude, azimuth, everything. So considering all of that, what we got is a result like this. So this is our three-wheeler. This is our battery box. We have a windscreen from which radiation can come, and then from the two sides, of course, the radiation can come. There is a seat. We considered what will be the resistance provided by the foam, and what will be the total thermal mass of the battery box. So with this, we apply, these are the models which we use for gravity, for radiation, for solar load. Now this goes into CFD software. And with that CFD software, what we get is this. We are able to predict the temperature. So if we are able to predict the temperature, then what we do? In this particular case, what we do is our initial design had a black battery box. So we said, why do we want to? Because that was coming from a particular design, the look, whether the base plate of the vehicle is black. So the designers matched it with the black color. So we said, don't use black, use white there. If you use white, then suddenly we will be able to reduce the temperature. And in some cases, quite significantly, more than 2 degrees C. Now you will say 2 degrees C, why it is such a big deal? That is a big deal because when the battery is hot, you're not allowed to charge. So if the battery has a temperature lower by 2 degree, for each 1 degree, about 20% charging is possible. So if you have a black battery box, you are not allowed to charge. If you have a white battery box, then you will be able to charge 40%. So 40% charging means about 50-60 kilometers. For a three-wheeler application, that is actually quite good. In the middle of the day, somebody can, while having lunch, can charge the battery worth of 50-60 kilometers. How much does a three-wheeler run in the whole day? Probably about 50-60 kilometers. So it's a solution that is India specific. It keeps everyone happy. Now I will come to the last part, lithium-ion battery recycling. Why this is important? This is important because lithium-ion batteries are costly. It is the costliest of the whole electric vehicle. And also lithium can be quite toxic. So just like that, lithium cannot be thrown away. Lithium-ion battery cannot be thrown away. So what we need to do is we need to recycle and reuse. So reuse means what? We will have to open the battery pack. These are some of the steps that you need to follow, like discharge it, then remove battery box, the bus bars, relays, etc., etc. So these are standard ways of doing it. Now, if a battery box or pack comes to you, whether you should recycle it or whether you should use it for a different application, like renewable energy, solar energy storage application. So what we do is we consider what is the state of health of the battery. Is the state of health too low? For example, below 40%, we send it for recycling. Is it, let's say, less than 60? Then you can use it for small applications like e-cycles. Is it between 85 and 60? Probably you can send it for solar storage. Now, these 85, 60, 40, whatever number I have written here, these are ad hoc numbers. Depending upon different batteries, depending upon different applications, depending upon its cost, these numbers may change. But the idea remains the same. First, when the lithium-ion battery is made, it will be used for electric vehicles. Once that electric vehicle application is completed, then you see what is the health of the battery. If the health is acceptable for, let's say, an inverter application, we can send it further. If we see that the customer actually really have used it too long, you cannot do anything out for it from it. So you'll have to send it out for dismantling and recycling. And if there are some smaller applications like small devices, then probably you can use it too. But this particular one, again, nobody wants to use an old battery for a new e-cycle. So this space is kind of shrinking. But this space and this space, these are growing. So everybody is looking to use end-of-life lithium-ion battery for solar application. And if there is nothing left, it will be sent for recycling, and from which a new battery will be made. So there are chemical processes available which claim to reclaim almost 90% of the total available metal. So that way, our complete lithium cycle will be, or rather our lithium cycle will be completed by that. So whenever you hear about the issues of availability of lithium for a complete electric vehicle market, so that is not, I mean, that is important, but it is actually not such a difficult problem. Because once you have enough lithium mined and into the vehicles, then that can be recycled, and that can, once some of the cells go to their end of life, that can be recycled to make new cells. So there are companies which have established it, and at lower level, meaning those are mostly done for let's say cell phone batteries or laptop batteries. So that needs to be scaled up. Once that is scaled up, it can cater to electric vehicles also. So that is a new challenge. Mahindra Electric is not into it, but of course it is extremely important for us, because once we have enough electric vehicles out in the market, then we would need somebody to provide value for the end of life cells. Okay, so with this, I will complete my presentation. So I think I have taken the full time, or maybe a little more. So if you have any question regarding this, feel free to ask.
Guys, whoever has some doubts can ask sir and get it cleared.
So no questions. So it seems then probably everyone has figured everything out.
Sir, hello sir.
Hello?
Sir, I have a general doubt. Like, many of the people don't prefer to use electric vehicles, no, sir, like electric bikes. Can we get to know what are the disadvantages that we get?
Sorry, what are the disadvantages of?
using electric bikes for daily use instead of petrol or diesel?
There are no disadvantages. So there are a couple of things. One is that electric bikes, what are available in India in performance, probably will not meet the that of petrol bikes. So that is from a customer perspective, there is one disadvantage in that sense that it will not have that kind of speed, that kind of acceleration, and in some cases that kind of range also. So that is the only thing that you can think of. But otherwise, uh, for everyday use, I would say 80 to 90% of the cases, all your requirement will be fulfilled by a electric bike.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Guys, anyone, if you have some questions, you can get it clarified now.
All right, so I guess there are no more questions. So then, thank you for this opportunity, and I hope I have been able to garner some interest for some of you in electric vehicle battery pack design. So yeah, have a good evening.
Sir, on behalf of ASM and IT Silver Student Chapter, we extend our sincere thanks to Dr. Suman Basu sir for sparing us your time from his busy schedule, which made us